because great change comes out of crisis. So I think the first thing I did was I did not go in and say to myself, this is going to be really difficult. This is going to be really hard. I went in with an attitude that I can figure this out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Franchise. As always, I'm your host, Paul Ehlinger. I'm super excited today. We're joined by a recent friend, Evan Hackel here of Ingage Consulting. Evan, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here and nice to meet your audience.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time today. And if you want to, who the heck are you? How'd you get to where you are? Give us the quick background so that people will know who you are.
I was born 7 pounds. I I've been in franchising literally for 40 years. My first franchise was a family videotape rental store, and we franchised it, grew it, and sold it to Showtime, who I think eventually sold to Blockbuster. I'm involved in starting 2 other franchise businesses. I've helped launch 20 businesses in my career, or actually
That's
probably
crazy.
more than 20 different businesses in my career, not all franchise.
Yeah,
I've taken over a bankrupt franchise business, which I hope we get to talk about,
absolutely.
and turned it around quite significantly, and have enjoyed being a lifelong learner, giver gain kind of person,
Yeah.
and enjoy franchising and all the people in franchising a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure. And what are you doing currently? So tell us just a little bit about Engage, how you spend your day to day.
I have a very interesting and great life. I do a lot of advisory and board work, and I do consulting work. And I work with, currently about 4 different brands, and I help them grow by improving their relationships and how they communicate with their franchisees and how they communicate. Sort of the idea that everyone working together can achieve more than when people are working apart.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. And the name makes a lot of sense then for what you're doing there. Kicking us off, I think you called it out, right? You've got a very wide spanning career across franchising, launched a lot of things, recovered brands, kind of done the gambit. The high level question, what makes them work, right? Like, what have been the common threads you've seen that, for the brands that have done, extremely well that you've worked with versus the ones that maybe not have done so well?
Number one most important thing is to have a vision and to share it with everybody. When everyone in the organization knows what the organization's about, where the organization's going, why it's going there, shares a passion, you can accomplish a lot. I cannot tell you how many brands, when I go and interview the franchisees and the staff, I typically start with the first question, in your own words, please share the vision of the organization.
Wow.
And people go, I don't know.
Whatever.
I talk to the founders. Founders, I don't know. But you can't, I use this analogy that a great franchise organization is like an orchestra.
Hmm.
Well, without a sheet of music, an orchestra is not going to sound very good.
Sure. Yeah.
And people need to know, and people need to take responsibility for their role and understand that their role isn't. So if you're a franchisee, your role is to the franchisor and to every other franchisee and to your employees. If you're the franchisor, your role and responsibility is to every franchisee, every employee of every franchisee, and creating a space that is conducive to people working together and harnessing the collective knowledge of the entire group. Everybody's got to be paddling together.
Yeah. And I think to your point, when you have those big audacious goals, right? It's motivating. It's motivating to feel like you're a part of something much bigger, that you're going for a really big thing. But then to your point, everybody being able to articulate it, it really it just makes conversation easier, right? If everybody knows what we're doing, they can put whatever problem they're trying to solve within that context to solve it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think a lot of people think the vision of a business is to make money.
That's a
Money,
that's a side outcome of a great business.
that's correct. It is a result of achieving a vision,
Yeah.
and it's a lagging indicator, not a leading indicator.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting because I do think it's even in the reporting, right? I think a lot of companies revenue is the first thing you report. It's the thing everybody wants to talk about. It's the growth they want to say. But to your point, if your vision is to be the best XYZ, if you achieve that, in theory, that money and revenue should come regardless of how you got there or what you're doing to do that.
Totally correct.
Yeah, no,
Providing
that's
you have a good vision.
sure. If it's not there, then I guess we have to have a bigger conversation then, right?
Yeah.
When you are advising folks about that, right? So you've come in and it's clear, the vision hasn't been disseminated, not everybody's bought in, whatever it may be. Are you giving them a time frame? Are you saying, hey, what's our 5-year vision, 10-year vision? Or are you giving like a what's the end state? If everything goes right and we execute, here's where we get to ultimately. How do you try to frame it to your clients and folks you work with?
So this is the most difficult part of my business is people like to hire people like myself to solve their problems.
Sure.
And I believe the solution of someone's problems are by understanding what's going on in the business and having everyone participate in the creation of that vision and the creation of that solution.
Yeah.
When someone is told what to do, their first response is, why is this not good?
Yeah.
I don't get it. It sounds good, but there's got to be some ulterior motive. But when it's something is someone's own idea, they own it. So
Yeah.
you want to have the ability to get everyone to collaborate. So what I really sell is a process.
Okay.
Step one is discovery, where we survey franchisees or we look at franchise business review if they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
We interview a lot of franchisees. We interview every employee generally, and it depends on the size of the system, certainly senior management. Then we conduct a workshop where we go through what's working, what's not working, what are the strengths, weaknesses, where's the passion, and then we brainstorm on what the vision and the values of the organization are going to be, and then what comes first.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Do you see, are there personalities that are combative towards that? Even, not saying, hey, here's the solution, but saying, hey, here's the process. Because inevitably, some of those processes start to disclude somebody or disclude a way of being that somebody came up with while they're there. How do you fight through kind of that unwillingness to change as you've implemented the process?
It's interesting you say this. I'm reading a great book called Ego is the Enemy.
Ego is the enemy. Interesting.
And the premise of this book is that people, when they believe they know the solution or they know the answer,
Mm-hmm.
they get so caught up they can't see anything out. They miss it.
Yeah.
And surely when you look at a company like Kodak, which just recently announced that they're probably going to close,
Mm-hmm.
They invented the digital picture.
Right.
They invented, I don't know if they invented photography, but they own photography. Now they're going
Right.
out of business. And it's because they were unable to change. So the biggest problem I have is with people that are absolutely convinced they know the right way.
Yeah.
And it's not because they don't know the right way, because they may very well know the right way. It's because other people will not work with them and respect them because they weren't willing to go through and play
Yeah.
and contribute to a process.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think there's probably examples on both sides. Like I think of like Mark Zuckerberg, right, where it's like he unilaterally has a vision and almost doesn't give a shit if somebody disagrees with him, and he's obviously executed to success. But I think I would agree with you that those are outliers. Those are not how the standard business becomes successful, right? And the unwillingness to change is a big part of being able to get to that success.
Well, there's first off, authoritarian leadership absolutely is the most effective leadership in the short term.
Sure.
There is no comparison. If you want to maximize results for 60 to 90 days, just dictate the heck out of
Yeah,
everything.
just go make the decision and say it's my way or the highway.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe Engage philosophy that I bring into and expose to businesses, which is a methodology, is good for all business,
Mm-hmm.
but it is particularly important in the franchise world because the relationship isn't one in which it's easy for the franchisor to dictate, and having someone's heart, mind, and soul and want to participate, want to be trained, understand why, and follow the system is really critical.
Yeah, no, that's a really great differentiation because they are partnerships, right? Like they're buying into your vision and you've got to serve them just as well as vice versa. Yeah.
And I'll say this, and I think this is really a critical distinction. Because people accuse me, well, Evan, all you want to do is have the franchisees be happy. I don't want them to be happy.
Yeah.
I want them to be energized. I want them to be motivated, and I want them to be pushed.
Yeah.
Everybody should be pushed to do the best they can do. It should be a little bit uncomfortable. If everyone in your franchise system is happy, I would say the organization isn't pushing the organization enough with innovation and change.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
people to respect leadership. You want people to understand leadership. You want people to feel like they've been heard and they had a say in what happened. But you want people to be pushed to innovate and to change. And whenever you innovate and change, not everyone's going to be happy.
Yeah, discomfort causes growth, right? You can't really grow out of comfort. People
Yeah,
get lazy.
that's totally clear.
Yeah, no, I love that. And transitioning a little bit, I know you called out in the beginning wanting to talk through the bankruptcy. I think that's fascinating, right? Because I think it's really easy to be a consultant and come in and say, hey, this is how we do it. This is how it works. But you kind of have both sides of the story, right? Where you can be like, hey, I've seen how it really doesn't work. And here's what we did to reemerge from that, right? And you've also built successfully otherwise there. Maybe walk us through that. Give us the quick background on what was going on with that business, how you turned it around. And then I really want to just understand what were the pivotal lessons from that, that you still use and still teach people about from that experience?
So I give everyone a background. There was a franchisor called Flooring America. They had just recently changed their name to Flooring America, by the way.
Mm.
And that's important because that was an expensive endeavor that they pushed on all the franchisees.
Yeah, rebranded everything, got all the new logos, new stores, all that good stuff.
Yeah, there were 202 franchisees in about 300 locations,
Gotcha.
doing about $700 million in volume. There were 400 company-owned stores,
Wow.
many of which were close to franchise locations. The 400 company-owned stores closed. So a lot of concern whether the name was going to be a good name or a bad name.
Sure.
The company that bought, the company that I led the acquisition and managed and ran the business, was their number one competitor. So think about McDonald's buying Burger King.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the first thought that they all had was our goal for buying them was to put them out of business.
Sure.
The amount
A
that,
logical first thought.
yeah, a logical first thought that, we just bought them to destroy them and to hurt them,
Yeah.
which was not. And, it's interesting, but the symmetries between the two businesses and the efficiencies that we could bring to both brands
Mm.
were huge. And when we're competing in the flooring business against Home Depot and Lowe's, we needed the size and we needed the scale. So there was clearly a benefit, which when people's eyes were open, go, oh yeah, I can see it. So a lot of people think, well, this would be incredibly tough. Oh, I forgot the best part. I was the doppelganger for the old CEO who they hated because he lied. So people would do a look at me and think like they think
Just
they're talking.
immediately bad reviews of you. Yeah.
Yes, immediately. Meanwhile, in 4 years, we had 570 locations and we were doing $2 billion in business.
That's crazy.
And the franchisee profitability was very high. The growth was very high. And I'll tell you, contrary to what it would seem, it was the best way to make change
Interesting.
because everybody was listening and everyone was paying attention.
Sure, I guess. I mean, in terms of an inflection point, there's a few bigger than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone was wanting to know what was going on and everyone was looking for a vision and thing. And the first thing we did was run around the country and do 12 town hall meetings where we went and invited every franchisee in. And we didn't say to them, here's our plan. We said to them, what's working and not working in the system we have now?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see the vision? What do you think of the name? And in each town hall, we spent 4 hours basically asking questions and listening. We had a very active advisory group. So we got all the information in, all the ideas. Everyone was able to participate. Everyone, had every opportunity to feel heard.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we built a strategy, a plan, who we wanted to be, what we wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
And then we went and we rolled it out. And the timing worked out really well to match when our first convention was. And the good news is attendance at convention was outstanding because everyone wanted to see what we were
what the
going
heck's
to do.
going to happen?
The entertainment factor alone was going to be let's watch Evan squirt.
The drama was there, right? I love that.
I do think people literally thought that it was going to be just a grilling and
yeah.
yeah. But it was the exact opposite.
Yeah, and I can see the parallels just how you're telling that story, but did you have kind of the core principles that you're leveraging in your process with Engage now at the time, or were a lot of the core principles and philosophies kind of developed out of going through that experience?
I would say that I built virtually every principle I have today out of that experience.
Yeah.
So I used to run a franchise advisory council like a focus group.
Hmm.
Bring them in, have something done, roll it out, and
Yeah.
ask them how much they'd pay for it.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, that's how I ran it. It wasn't like the councils were upset or mad,
Yeah.
but
I mean, it gets something done at the end of the day, right? It's like productive.
right.
Um,
But then I learned it all starts with the franchisee,
mhm.
right? That you have to have the franchisee contribute at the beginning. And the advisory council is about listening to the franchisees, not how to sell the franchisees things. So dramatic shift in how I did everything. And
Yeah.
it wasn't that I was unsuccessful previously. It's just I never had the challenge and never had to say to myself, well, what do I have to do differently now?
Yeah. Yeah.
It made a huge, huge difference in my life and in my career.
Yeah, and I think you call out a great point there. I think there's not a lot of opportunity for like great crisis in a career, right? Like most people just kind of go through their career, they have a job, they get a different job, they do the thing. I think it's not as often that you come in and you have a crisis at the scale you had to, confront. How did you handle that? Like what were you kind of brought up that there where it's like, hey, I've got to challenge myself, I've got to question if I'm doing it the right way or if I need to change. Like going through that process, how did you change as a leader?
So there's somebody that says never let a great crisis go to waste
Yeah.
because
It's opportunity.
great change comes out of crisis.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing I did was I did not go in and say to myself, this is going to be really difficult. This is
Yeah.
going to be really hard. I went in with an attitude that I can figure this out. If I listen, I talk to enough people. To be quite candid with you, I didn't think that as many of the 202 franchisees 4 years later, 200 of the 202 are still with us.
Wow. I mean, that's impressive regardless of the
Yeah.
situation.
Um, so whenever someone calls to complain to me,
Hmm.
and I learned this from my father, I love complaints
Yeah.
because when someone's complaining, it's an opportunity to shine. It's an opportunity to demonstrate what
Yeah.
you can do.
And they care enough, right? They care
Yeah.
enough to come complain because
Yeah.
a lot of the times I say the same thing like when we're building software. I love when people tell us if something's wrong or it doesn't do what they want it to do. The worst people are the ones who like just take it and then never tell you anything and stop using it, stop being bought in, they're not engaged at all. Like that's way worse than a complaint. That's awesome. Yeah, I was talking to so we had Adam Contes, who's the ex CEO of Remax on, and I think you guys share a very similar philosophy. For him, he calls it partying with the beast. So it's like his whole thing was if you're going into a difficult situation, and if you think about it as a beast and your enemy, it's going to be really hard. But if you think of it as your friend that you're just going in to like hang out with and learn from, it's a lot easier scenario. So I think it's interesting you guys have like a mental framework that is like you just can't treat it like a challenge. You got to treat it like an opportunity.
So I'll just share this because I think this is interesting. 4 years after running the business, I got promoted to run both companies, the two competitive companies.
Yeah.
And Flooring America was just growing like crazy because everyone was engaged. They were paying attention. They were working together.
Hmm.
The other group, the economics of each unit was higher, but their growth rate was much slower and they were much
Interesting.
happier. But there was a whole undercurrent of disengagement and unhappiness.
Sure.
So I went to the management team and I said, who are the people, who are the franchisees that are the most upset with us? And they said, here are the ones that are most upset with us. And I said, of these, who are the ones that people look up to and like think these people really know how to run a great business? And we came up with about 15 names.
Hmm.
And I invited every one of them, all very unhappy,
Sure.
to a private meeting with me and them in one of our franchisees' locations.
Yeah.
And it was me and 15 people, no one else.
And 15 people that didn't want to see you necessarily.
Well, I don't know if I think they were happy that I was willing to come and see them.
Providing
Right.
the
I
forum.
think they
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
happy I was willing to come see, but there were 15 people that thought we were doing a terrible job. And I sort of, what I really thought to myself was, these people are influencers,
Yeah, yeah.
right? In every franchise system, you have somebody that people look up to and they say, this person knows how to do this really well. If I could do this well, I want to follow and do what they're doing. So I also figured these are good business people. So I wanted to hear what they had to say. And a lot of what they had to say was right. I didn't leave the meeting thinking these people are idiots.
Yeah, you were like, oh no, we have like many faults we should be solving for.
Yeah, exactly. And quite a few of them I put on the advisory council, and I
Hmm.
kept everyone in what I call a kitchen cabinet, where I said every month, my most influential franchisees, every month as the CEO of the franchise business, I'm going to call them
Interesting.
because I want to know what they're doing, because these are the people everyone looks up to. If somebody is upset and no one respects them and they don't think they're good business people,
Right.
it's not that I don't want to win them over, but it's not as impactful as somebody that's extremely well, what's the word, has a reputation
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
of
highly
being really.
respected. Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense, and I'm curious how much of this plays into. So I was reading some of your writing, and I think you talk a lot about like building with purpose, living with purpose, having a purpose driven organization. How much of that plays into this? In terms of passionate people that are good at what they do, they care about what they do. I would consider those purposeful people, right? They kind of know what they want to achieve, and they're set out to achieve that. How do you bring that into your work, in your day to day?
Well, first off, you have to really live it.
Yeah,
So when I was running a franchise business, every meeting that we had, there was somebody that shared the company vision in their own words.
interesting.
And whenever we had a bigger meeting, like a strategy meeting or something of that nature, there was always a person whose job was to monitor the company values and to point out if we were veering off value.
I love that.
So we got some book called The Four Hats. I don't remember the name of the book, but it would, the idea was somebody to keep us on track.
Hmm.
But here's the difference maker. This is the sizzle and the sizzle reel. It's the employees and the frontline people that have to have the passion. So you can have it as a management team, your franchisees can have it, but if you don't get it down to the people that are actually interacting with customers and doing the actual work, you're just going to be spinning your wheels.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
getting it to that place that everyone really knows what that vision is,
Hmm.
everyone who's hired is trained on that vision and knows how, in their role, they help achieve that vision,
Yeah.
is a huge difference maker.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, I think you call out a good delineation there because, for better or worse, the executive leadership, the franchisees, they are substantially motivated to buy into the vision, right? Financially motivated to buy into the vision, very much so. And I think, obviously, the frontline employees, they have financial motivation, but it's to a different degree, right? It's to an exponentially different degree. How do you go about like bridging that divide? Obviously, if the franchise system takes off and the franchisee is able to add 10 more units and then a sale happens, like everybody can win big. But for the frontline worker, if they're at a POS system 8 hours a day, how do you get them to buy in?
Well, it's interesting you talk about this because in my second book, I did a deep dive into the younger generations. And what you find in the younger generations is they actually care about purpose far more and they care about being trained far more than the older generations. And what you will find is that people that understand, first off, appreciate being informed,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
appreciate being trained, and understand the difference that they're making, they're going to stay. So if you have a business with 100% or more turnover, which happens a lot in franchising, if you can make a dent in that and change that number to 50% or
Yeah,
30%,
compounds.
oh my God. And,
Yeah,
costs so much to train a new employee, so many
yeah,
mistakes, so much additional staff because people don't know what they're doing. It's huge. But I think the point that I'm getting at is I think people think it's an imposition to train people,
mm-hmm.
but they actually want to be trained.
Yeah,
Gen Z loves being trained and they're looking forward to it. And when they don't get trained, they think that their employer doesn't care about them and they don't want to stay.
yeah. I think I completely agree with that. I think it's, so I'm a millennial. I'm 33. I've got some Gen Z staff, and I think it's super obvious. Like the thing they want to do is they want purpose above what they feel like their job is, right? Like they want to feel like they're making an impact not only on themselves but on the world around them and the world at large. And I think for me, and it's funny you kind of talk about this. I'm a big fan of like, hey, like who do you want to be 5 years from now? Like, let's say you do want to move on someday. Like, how do we make it so that you get to move on to a bigger, better role that I could have never given you? Like, how can we make you bigger than what I could even give you? I think that's been an interesting strategy. It's been fun to see that play out.
Well, I think every employee in an organization should have a development plan for them, even if their plan is just to stay at the role they're at, because not everybody wants to be in management. Not everyone,
Yeah, sure. How can you be like
wants.
the best individual contributor?
Yeah. And, what can we do? And understand what motivates each individual person that works for you. I have a rule. It's a 5-to-1 rule, which is catching people right 5 times for every time you have constructive criticism.
Oh, interesting.
And the reason it makes so much sense is when you catch people doing things right, they know how much they care
Sure.
and how good they're doing.
Yeah, and you're
So
validating it.
when you have constructive criticism, they're not worried, oh my God, if you only give constructive criticism, they just think you're going to fire them.
Yeah, you're only criticizing at that point.
Yes. And I can't tell you how many people, because I do keynotes and give speeches and all this, they'll come up to me and says, well, I have a 20-to-1 rule, except it's the opposite, 21 pieces of criticism for every piece of positive thing. But if somebody thinks they're going to get fired, they're going to quit. If somebody thinks that they're appreciated and valued and important, they're not going to quit as likely. I wouldn't say they'd never quit.
Right.
But people have to know how much you care and how much you've noticed that they're doing a great job. Then they feel, and it's not like you just make crap. Oh, Evan says 5. I got something to say. So now, hey, you dress nicely today. Your hair looks good.
Yeah, those are the easy ones. Yeah.
But a true, hey, I noticed you did this, and I noticed the smile on the customer's face.
Yeah. That's probably good advice for any relationship. I mean, I'm thinking like, hey, if I did a 5-to-1 with my wife every day, I'd probably be killing it.
Yeah. Well,
I try my best. It's not a 21-to-1 the other way for sure.
yeah. Well, that's good. And, I think what you'll find is the world reciprocates.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's definitely a gift first.
if you start to notice and say and comment on all the nice things your wife does, she will do the same in reverse.
Yeah, I think the way I always frame this is like intentionality, like living like a very intentional life, right? Of like, hey, if something does bring you joy, just explain that to the person who brought you joy. And the fact that you're going out of your way to say it is probably an unusual thing for them to hear on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. I love that. I'm curious. This is a selfish question. I'm writing my first book. You've released a few books. How was that process for you? What motivated you to go down that process and pursue it?
I wrote the books for my children and grandchildren and great grandchildren
Yeah.
because I wanted somebody to be able to read the book and understand how I thought, what my experiences
Yeah,
were, and
that's
what
cool.
I had learned.
Yeah.
That was my motivation for writing the book.
Have
I did not write the book with the idea that I would be a
You're not trying to be a New York Times bestseller?
bestseller. I'm an Amazon bestseller, but I can tell you it's pretty easy to be an Amazon bestseller.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
put it on there, and they'll give you a niche enough category to be a bestseller on.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to waste your listeners' time, but you can manipulate it so that if you buy in a certain period of time a whole bunch of books,
Okay.
for 99 cents, Kindles, you can
Yeah.
boost your way. You can boost your way. And by the way, there are people that buy themselves on the New York Times bestseller
Yeah. Just different
list too.
scale. Yeah.
Yeah. But, my goal in writing the book was really to have a legacy
Mhm.
and to make a difference.
Yeah.
And certainly from a business perspective, it's a handy thing working with a client to give to the client and to
Yeah.
share. And then, I do sell books, but that's a byproduct.
The revenue generation was not the leading indicator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, building a book is like a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start with the end in mind, right? You got
Yeah.
to know where
Who's
you
this
want.
for? What are you trying to
Right.
solve?
So you got to ask the same question. What do you want people to think and feel when they finish your book?
Yeah.
Okay. You've got to know that. I found a really great ghostwriter because I'm severely dyslexic. So we worked really well on the flow, the chapters, the creation. And then what we did is we had Zoom meetings where I basically talked and he asked me questions.
Interesting. And they would dictate it down.
Yeah. And then they took it and they wrote it.
That's cool.
With ChatGTP, you could have a conversation with Chat,
Yeah.
let it write. But it was incredibly helpful. I had somebody that knew me well, and I write lots of articles and things of that nature using the same methodology. But with like a lot of things, one, you got to start.
Right.
Two, and they say when you have a disability that there are benefits too, right? That it's not all bad, that you make up for what you lose in other ways. So for me, I learned the benefit of doing something quickly and then coming back and refining it.
Yeah, just iterating and iterating.
Yeah. So if you try to make every sentence perfect, it's
Good
almost
luck.
impossible to get to the next sentence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let it flow. And so we worked on the book, but then what we did is we had about 50 of my friends who agreed to read the book. And I got a lot of comments and a lot of feedback from the people that read the book. And then I had a professional editor go through the book. So I had a lot of feedback processes to make the book something to be proud of.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then my first book, I was a paid publisher on. Very happy.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the company that did it got bought by another company.
Okay.
The company bought them, called me up and said, we're going to take your book out of print unless you pay us this amount of money.
That sucks.
So I learned a valuable lesson that just because it was great to have someone pay me to write a book.
Yeah, doesn't mean it's the best outcome in the end.
No. And so my second and third book, I self-published, or I actually technically partner published. I had a company, but I paid rather than be paid because I wanted to control and not have somebody that could literally, take my book out of print.
Yeah, ownership is the key.
Yeah.
Love that. No, thank you for that. I was just curious. Last section we always like to do is just like a series of quick hitter questions. The idea is first thing that comes to your mind when you hear it, Rorschach-ian style, if that sounds good to you. First things first, what's the most misunderstood aspect of franchise leadership?
That it's about being a compellingly passionate, charismatic person.
Yeah. How would you tell people to build that or to get better at that?
Well, what I'm saying is leadership is about
the opposite of that, excuse me.
Right. That people think, oh, somebody's just compelling and passionate. And, I had a potential client call me up and tell me all the problems that they had.
Yeah.
And they said, our CEO gave a great speech at the convention and all was solved.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't
You gotta
work.
be a doer. Yeah. You got to do the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think the key to great leadership is to start by listening, earning the right, and challenging everyone to keep getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Trend in franchising that you think is currently overhyped?
I'm not going to say this is overhyped, but I think the trend with private equity is dramatic.
It feels bubblish a little bit. I wouldn't call it a bubble yet, but it feels like it's getting there.
When they entered the space, they only looked for really big players, only looked, for people special. I went to a bagel franchise startup.
Yeah.
And it was open, literally a block from where I live. And I thought I would meet the franchisee. And this is a bagel company with 10 locations. And they said, well, our location's owned by a private equity firm.
And you're like, how? There's 10 of them.
Yeah. And they bought 40, they bought the right to open up 40 locations.
That early into the brand is crazy.
That's what I'm thinking. I think that private equity into the space is professionalized franchising. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You haven't asked this question, but I'm going to just say this. I think most franchise systems are not good deals for franchisees.
Yeah. I mean, if you dive into like the FTD documents and you really study the financials, I think some of them you're buying a job and it's not always a great paying job.
Yeah. And sometimes you're not even buying a job.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes you're buying a headache. Yeah. And I get people all the time say, I have a business I think it would be franchisable. And so I had a guy call me up and says, I got a business. Everyone tells me it's, it should be franchisable. And the first thing I asked them, I said, are you making 20 to 25% profit, because you have to be able to make enough profit that the franchise can afford to pay you that royalty, pay you that national advertising
And
fee,
still make a good enough profit margin for themselves.
and make a good enough profit margin to solve. And the guy goes, I'm making 20%. Okay. I said, sounds like you've been in business for a while. Do you pay rent or do you have a mortgage? Well, my building is paid off. Did you factor that into your?
So the franchisee margin would be 2.5%
Yeah,
after everything. Yeah,
yeah. It's I could go on and tell stories of
yeah,
of bad franchise businesses,
yeah.
and I think that's the big risk to the industry is as they get as they get exposed, it hurts all
Yeah,
franchise
it's
business.
always the name, right?
Yeah,
It's always the industry.
and
Absolutely.
but I do think that private equity brings credibility, legitimacy
It
into
brings
in
financial rigor at the minimum.
yeah.
I think in at least how the accounting practices are being done, making sure the P&Ls are all actually accurate at the location level, I think is a big thing that PE probably does very well.
Yeah, well, I'm sure this is going to kill you, but probably the biggest miss is people not sharing financial information, benchmarking, and comparing one with one another.
Yeah,
Because the ability to look at your financials and compare them to the system
yeah,
is a huge benefit.
yeah,
And most systems don't have that ability to do that.
yeah. It is
Just
crazy.
even a common chart of accounts, which you would think would be a simple thing, is missed by many.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. The last question, a personal one. What's one thing people don't know about you, or most people don't know about you?
I think most people don't know how much I care
Yeah.
about others and how much I'm willing to help without being paid.
There you go. I mean, that is an announcement, everybody. Evan's got some time for you if you wanna.
No,
If
I
you
mean,
wanna.
I'm happy to chat with people and give advice.
Yeah, you strike me as somebody who endeavors to gain knowledge and enjoys solving complex problems. If I had,
Yeah. Well, I'm a lifelong learner.
yeah, yeah, I love that. And wrapping up, like a good late night show host, I always like to say, take the pedestal, Evan. Where can people find you online? What do you want them to know about you? What can they look forward to or know about Engage to close us out here?
My website is evanhackel.com, EvanHackel. It used to be engage.net, which also works, but people don't know I spell engage with an I. So evanhackel.com. On there, I have a pretty incredible list of articles that I've written that are all available. I have a new website, evanhackel.ai, which you can reach from evanhackel.com, where you can get a Coach Evan chat app and try it out for free and access my knowledge and
That's awesome.
information. And Evan Hackel on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with anybody, and I share a lot of content on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, you heard it there, guys. Everybody, we'll put those links up for you. I love the AI Coach Evan. That's awesome. I love that. And Evan, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. Love the knowledge you've shared. I think we could have gone we actually probably could have. We were joking we were going to talk for 4 hours beforehand. I think we might have been able to. I think there's some really deep, interesting stuff to go into with your history. So thanks for being on.
It was a pleasure.
I really appreciate it. And everybody else, thank you for listening to another episode of Behind the Franchise, as always. And I hope we have you back for the next one. We'll talk to you soon.